We're inside the updated 2024 Alfa Romeo Giulia. This is not the Quadrifoglio with over 500 horsepower. This is the Veloce. Pretty evident that it is with that emblem there on the side underneath the hood. And the standard Giulia is a 2-liter, 280 horsepower, 306 pound-feet of torque, mated to an 8-speed ZF automatic transmission. This is a rear-wheel drive model. You can get it in 4-wheel drive for an extra $2,000. And for an Italian car, not a big surprise that underneath the hood it's quite attractive. Even this radiator guard of some sort up here has a little attention to detail. Really like this setup, and I'll talk about how it drives here in a little bit. Hood slams very nicely here. One of the most gorgeous car emblems in the industry with the snake from the Alfa Romeo. And we got the iconic beak, or you call it the triangle, here up front. Now updated for 2024. These kind of match the Tonale and Stelvio's headlights now. These daytime running lights, the triple loop. I think it looks pretty cool. And then even down here, it says Alfa Romeo on the radar cruise control sensor. Parking sensors up front, of course. Do you guys like the front end of the Alfa Romeo Giulia? I think it's a gorgeous car. Cassie thinks it looks like an angry cat up front. I don't know if I see it, but let me know if you guys see the angry cat. Now, with any Italian car, curves are the name of the game, unless you're maybe a Lamborghini. But Alfa here, this car has been out for, I don't know, 7-8 years now seemingly, and the Giulia is still a head turner. Absolutely gorgeous. Their wheels stand out. We have the 19-inch wheels here. You can get these with all season tires or the summer tires. The summer tires I think are I think they're like 1,400 bucks. It's quite a large upgrade. Window bezel is blacked out here on the Veloce with black mirrors too. Just a very gorgeous sedan. And on top we have the larger roof, which if you look inside, we have a dual pane panel roof. This thing is a bit finicky to mess with, so I'm just gonna leave that open for now. But it is a very gorgeous looking roof with the double pane glass. The Q2, so we have a limited slip diff here, and the dual exhaust here looks absolutely gorgeous. I don't believe the taillights were refreshed here for 2024. Let me know down below. I can't tell the difference between 23 and 24 rear taillights. Beautiful Alfa logo there. And you can fold down the seats 40-20-40, which is pretty unheard of in a small sedan. Underneath there's a lot of styrofoam and no spare tire from what I can see. It looks like the battery would be back here, the 12 volts. We have an upgraded package here. It's a leather wrapped top portion of the door panels, even in the back seat. Nice leather here around the windowsill. Beautiful red leather. This is the way you have to go with this car. Even red on red here. It's super rare in the industry to have red interior with a red paint color. Alfa's not scared to do it. Now, I had a very small competitor to this recently, which was the Genesis G70. This rear seat's actually more roomy. I have more headroom, I think, than the G70. I have a slightly more leg room. I have 2 USB-A's back here, heated rear seats. We have some vents. The back seat to this, especially with this roof, and I'm gonna try to close it. I'm just gonna leave it open. I can't get it closed. Thigh extension here on the front seat. I love these seats, very, very comfortable, very supportive bolstering as well. They are not ventilated, but they have perforation, so they breathe pretty well. Alfa Romeo sigil here on the headrest. Again, leather wrapped up here up on the top. We have the optional Harman Kardon sound system in here too. Blind spot monitor, of course. Now I believe that is optional even. Alfa Romeo skid plate, closing the door. Sounds okay, not necessarily luxury. We have massive paddle shifters here to roll through the 8-speed ZF. Leather dash to accompany the leather toppings of the doors, and we have this big shifter here with the Italian flag right below it. We have a USB-A up here, which does only charging. If you want Android Auto, it has to be plugged in back here with a USB-C or USB-A, and you do have a wireless charger. In my experience, you kind of really have to shove it down all the way, your phone, for the wireless charging to work properly. Love the volume knob here, love the dynamic mode, the natural mode. This doesn't look very luxurious, but at least it's rubber edged here for really nice grip while you're driving. I would say ergonomics overall are pretty fantastic here. This screen, I want to say it's like an 8.8 inch screen, It is very laggy. It's small. I try not to spend any time with this screen. I get my phone out, I plug in Android Auto, and I tuck my phone in there. And this is what I prefer to have up more times than not. The screen also has like this anti-glare coating on it, seemingly, and even in direct sun, it still kind of washes out. But yeah, I wish this was I don't need a bigger screen, but I need a better screen, one that's not as laggy. Android Auto does not lag as much. With that being said, the dash here is pretty plain, soft touch at least here on the front. I'm glad we have some sort of silver lining here instead of like plastic glossy black, which we have here. At least it's not all of this. And even this here is soft, which is great for bracing yourselves in the turn. Steering wheel is fantastic. Here's the engine start stop button. I love the Alfa logo here. And even though this is kind of outdated, this feels very, very modern. The fully digital 12-inch screen here that is customizable. You press this and then you can slide through different things for the center screen. You press it again and then you can customize things over on the right hand side. I'm getting about 26 miles per gallon or so, which is right in line with city driving for this vehicle. There is no head-up display, but at least I can put the digital speedometer very large in the center. All right, putting it into drive, finally, my two favorite things about this car is looking at it. I love how this car looks, and two, my second favorite thing is driving this car. I know on paper, 280 horsepower doesn't sound that exciting, but when you put it in the dynamic mode, this thing really comes alive. And one of the first things you notice, whether it's a Stelvio or the Tonale, one of the first things you notice in an Alfa is the steering response. It is so snappy, accurate, and just like a little puppy dog wanting you to throw it as hard as you can in the turns. The steering here is better than just about any car I think I've ever driven, or at least the steering feel. How is the handling? Well, I don't have a lot of canyons here in Florida. When I throw it around the turns, it feels great. I just need to make sure I'm in dynamic mode. Otherwise, even in the standard N mode, it just does not want to power out of anything. The response is pretty muted. And it seems like, even though I'm not in the advanced efficiency mode, in the base N mode, it still is just so lethargic. But you put it into D, it immediately, or dynamic mode, not drive, you put it in dynamic mode, immediately downshifts, and we got these massive paddle shifters. And then the upshifts, the downshifts are super fast in dynamic mode compared to the other modes. And I haven't been in A mode at all, advanced efficiency mode. The N mode already feels like advanced efficiency with how lethargic it is. It doesn't want to really give you the full beans ever unless you smash the pedal, and even then it takes a while for it to downshift. Being in sport mode really is the best way to drive this car, similar to some of the BMWs I've driven recently and Hyundai's products as well. They just don't want to be playful in the standard mode whatsoever. We're gonna let this Telluride, we're gonna space out the Telluride here. Still in D mode. It does have engine start stop feature, and it is pretty aggressive. Yeah, the torque here is the strongest aspect of this engine. I think you get peak horsepower around the mid 5,000 RPM, but it doesn't rev much past that. I think Redline is saying, at least on here, is about 5,500 RPM. I want this engine to keep going. It feels more like Mazda's 2.5 liter turbo. Much lighter than Mazda's setups for sure, but it feels like it just is really designed for torque instead of peak horsepower, which is kind of surprising for an Italian car. You would think it would want to rev to the moon and give you that beautiful crescendo and awesome engine note. Here just doesn't feel special. If you want something extremely special with the powertrain, you're going to have to go for the twin turbo V6 and the quadrifolio version of this, which you can find used ones for less than what a new one costs of this. But again, warranty, if you want to have a warranty, you got to buy new or close to new, right? Now the paddle shifters, they don't turn with the steering wheel. So when I'm mid-turn and I feel like I need an extra gear to downshift, sometimes I miss the shifter if I'm rotated about 180 degrees. I want that shifter to be there. They are enormous, so in most situations they are going to be next to your hands, even in mid-steering, and you just got to keep that in mind. You might have to reach with your pinky instead of your middle fingers. Put them back in the N mode. This is where you're going to be most of the time, especially if you're driving on the highway. You're going to see over 30 miles per gallon on the highway. This thing has plenty of passing power due to the torque and the snappy transmission, especially in dynamic mode, right? The ride quality here is really impressive. I thought this thing was going to be bumpy and not very, I'm going to get in front of these bikers here. I thought this thing was going to be bumpy and not very comfortable. See, I'm in natural mode and I wanted that power to power out of the turn. It just wasn't there. So natural mode, I kind of see it, or whatever N mode is, I kind of see it as neutered mode, but it is good for fuel economy. Just when you're in an Alfa, I want that on-demand response all the time. So I drive most of the time in dynamic, which is going to kill my fuel economy, but that's okay because I actually can enjoy the car for its design purpose. Steering stiffens up just a little bit in dynamic mode, but it still feels very, very playful even in the standard N mode. 0 to 60 in this should be just under 6 seconds. If you get the all-wheel drive, maybe in the mid 5 seconds. It doesn't feel particularly quick. It feels probably the best from like 0 to 45 due to the torque, but like I said, the top end power really isn't there in this vehicle. I wish it had a little over 300 horsepower instead of the 280 that we have, but 280 is okay. Now if I look at a Lexus IS, it has a little over 300, but the torque on that is bad due to the naturally aspirated 6-cylinder. And here we go, we're going to, there we go. It's good. It's good, but the thing is, again, you have to be in dynamic all the time to enjoy the capabilities of this car. Otherwise, the programming of the shift logic and the transmission is just, and the throttle logic is really bad in the base N mode. But yeah, luckily this knob is easy to find, so I actually flip between sport, like the dynamic mode and natural mode, more than any other car that I think I've ever been in, because like it's just, you know, if I'm in dynamic mode here on the highway, I'm at 2,500 RPM, which is great for response. It's happy to go, but it's just going to kill your fuel economy. So luckily the placement of it, it's easy to find. I don't have to take my eyes off the road to switch between driving modes to get me in the right, let's say, rev range, depending on my needs, whether I need fuel economy like right now, or if I'm going into a turn, I want to be in that dynamic mode to have that better response. I haven't talked about braking here. As this Durango starts turning, the braking is fantastic. Put it in dynamic mode. There we go. This thing, it's good. It's good. Yeah, let's get into the brakes one more time here and throw this thing around the turn. The brakes here are fantastic. Steering is just so addictive, and unfortunately here in Florida, I can't take advantage of it as much as I want to. I can look at the car all I want, which is the other thing I like the most about this car is its looks, but I want to throw this in every single turn as hard as I can, and unfortunately everything is straight and flat here. So it's lost on me a little bit. And I kind of like, there are other cars, like let's say the Integra Type S or the Honda Civic Type R, cars that really excel when it comes to handling. And I just can't enjoy them as much as I want to here in boring Florida. It is beautiful here, but it's not a handling car's paradise, that is for sure. So this car's a little bit lost on me here, not due to the car's fault, but due to the fault of Florida being just a flat piece of greenery. But I'm gonna end it there. Thank you guys for watching. Thanks Alfa for sending me this. I really love this car. I just wish I didn't have to switch between a dynamic mode and the N mode as much as I do. That's just a small gripe, and that's probably just due to my own crazy driving habits. But yes, I like this car. Just update the screen, update the dash a little bit. It looks a little dated in here, but I really enjoy spending time in here. It's very comfortable. The ride quality is fantastic. It looks really good in this red paint color and the red leather. I love red on red. It's such a rare thing. So, all right, I'm gonna shut it down there. Let me know if you guys have any questions about the Alfa Romeo Giulia in this Veloce trim. And I'm, you know, one day I'm hoping I can drive the Quadrifoglio, because that's a car, that's like an end game daily driver sort of car. In the meantime, this one's pretty good too. All right, I gotta shut it down. Thank you guys for watching. Have a good day and peace.